BLERD official podcast. We are so happy you are here. Oh, we've had a crazy week. We know things have been absolutely insane. So now we're here to make you laugh, make you have some fun, talk, and just catch up. Hilton George, how are you doing, Hilton? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. It's been a crazy week for everybody, and we up here trying to manage with all the struggles in the news and all this stuff,
man.
and all this. We got to keep we got to keep up with the media and all this. So we got to watch the good stuff on TV,
Yeah.
the bad stuff, and we got to digest it so that we can talk about it. So it's a little bit of work, but it's it's good that we get a chance to come here and kind of bring things to light and process it. So it's a therapeutic thing for us.
Yes,
we hope that all of you out there are joining us to do it.
Oh man, you are just saying it like it is. It has been completely therapeutic. Christi Renee, how are you, my dear? Look at her. She's got that New Hampshire glow.
Ain't too much glowing. I mean,
is reflecting off of you.
Oh, yes. It's the reflection of the snow. You're absolutely right. Yeah, we still covered down here, but up here. But you know what's crazy is, so I'm still connected to like my Dallas, Texas app.
It's bad there.
And it is snowing. And of course, it's like, this much snow.
That much snow, and the whole city shut down.
The whole place. The kids here are like, oh my God, is it bad or is it? I was like, they shut everything down. School is out, and we walk in the blizzard around here.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's cute. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm good.
And I'm glad you're good, and I'm glad you're here. You had like several days of no heat, no lights, so we're glad you're warm. You look very warm. You look very good. And shout out to all the people who are having bad weather this week. We love you. I hope you're watching the BOP and you're just cozy and comfortable in your homes, and stay safe out there. Wherever you are, stay safe, because it seems like it's just that time of year where the winter storm is coming through. Everybody, planes, flights, if you don't have to travel, don't do it. Flights are being canceled left and right. It's just a hassle. So stay home. Yeah. It's great home. You got
the Southwest canceling the ticket as soon as you buy it. As soon as you get the receipt, it's like flight canceled.
I think we just got to tell people though, for real, like stay out of your car. Don't think that you can manage it because you know how to drive. It's other folk around you that just have no idea. And I think that's what causes all of the chaos.
Yeah.
And also I would encourage people, start at the beginning of the year or even start in the summer months, preparing for any type of winter weather.
Canned goods, toilet paper, like all that.
All of it, water. I mean, it was the bare minimum. Like I ordered this little portable stove that is just a little butane thing. It's not even butane. It's what are those things?
Electric
stove.
Butane is a bastard gas.
But it's like a sterno type thing. I mean, I bought sternos from the store and just made myself just so I can like boil some snow. I mean, you gotta just think ahead and do these things and plan. Because again,
where did you get all these skills? You up here talking about boiling snow?
You know, I'm the dystopian queen. I'm the survivalist on this show.
Like this is who we need.
Listen, I told y'all when all this shit come crumbling down, I'm gonna be your girl. Y'all be like, she's so dark, she's scary. Oh, but we gonna save lives.
Obviously. I mean, like, man.
MacGyver around this.
Well, we know who can you skin the squirrel? If we gotta eat a squirrel, we're
going vegetarian. Everybody gonna be vegan.
Man.
Okay, we canceled the trip up north.
I'm done. I'm staying in Cali.
I'm cooking up all the plants. I'm cooking up all the flowers. Like, I'm not skinning no animals, but
Yes, well, reporting straight from Los Angeles, where it is 62 degrees. You guys stay warm out there.
Listen, in a couple of days, just guess what the low is gonna be. Somebody try me in a couple of days.
-10.
-31.
Oh no.
Is that even
possible?
My freezer don't even do that.
I've been in Boston, I've been in Boston when it was like -15, but never like -30. Like,
that's what they're predicting. Like 6 degrees is going to be our high.
Yeah. Once it gets cold and it's just cold, it's just cold. Like it felt like it just is. There's no difference between negative and So just
it's crazy.
Stay in, stay warm. That's the moral of the story. And like she said, we should be like, my husband has our earthquake kit. He's got stuff stocked and stockpiled. Like, we had an earthquake this week, but it wasn't bad, but still, like, you just never know when something crazy is going to hit, and you don't want to be the one who you're just stuck. You're stuck at your house. You have no water, you have no nothing. So stockpiling is good, but like she said, you do it all year. You don't go this week and take all of it so that nobody else can get some.
That's what they did in North Carolina when they had that big snow a couple years ago. Everybody waited till the snow started falling to go to Home Depot, try to get some salt and a snow shovel. And everybody ended up stuck on the side of the road and all that craziness. I was like, why were you on 40 trying to go to Home Depot when the snow was coming down 1 inch an hour? No.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, just to get our minds off of the crazy weather and the crazy snow, we had big news from DC today. We had it. It was like the biggest news.
Like an hour ago.
Like an hour ago, literally.
I don't even know what it is. So this is a real reaction. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I figured you guys would not know, but as you guys know, James Gunn and Peter Safran, they've officially started running the newly created DC Studios. So now DC Studios is kind of like it's its own thing. It's its own place. They're making all the television shows and all the movies all under one umbrella. And the biggest reason is, the biggest complaint I think us as fans have always had is that nothing ever seemed to talk to each other. Like, you'd have an animated series that did something, you had a movie that did something else, and nothing ever seemed connected. Well, now DC Studios has everything under one umbrella. All the animated series, all the TV series, all the movies will all be done under this big, conglomerate. And the cool thing is, but you know what the cool thing is they've announced the first 10 projects. And this is they basically have said they're going to do like 2 movies, 2 TV shows per year. They're not going to be stressed to meet deadlines. They want to put all their concentrated effort, into having quality projects that people will love. And it sounds very exciting. Like, I'm very excited. DC obviously has some titles that are still in the that have already been shot that will be released. So those are still coming out, but they started naming some really, really cool stuff. And I just wanted to go over it with you. We've got new movies coming out. It's the first one is written by James Gunn. It's called Superman Legacy. And this is really going to introduce, Superman, his family, and just introduce, it's kind of like that early, like they said they're going to do an earlier story, not with Henry Cavill. They're going to do this newer story. And that was what sent everybody up in arms, but it sounds exciting. This is going to focus on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringings. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear of that. What did you think, Hilton? I know you are. You and I, we live for this stuff. I knew you knew an hour ago when it hit. Like, it was like, oh.
Yeah, everybody went crazy about this. And, that's just reaction that the internet's going to do. But I think that they're onto something. And I think as we get into it, people will be more at ease with these new hands on the wheel. We went through the same thing when Disney started buying up Marvel and Star Wars and those franchises, and like, oh, Disney's gonna screw it up and da 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 da. And then one movie come out, we're like, huh? And then the second movie come out, like, oh. And then the series comes out, we're like, oh. And now we swear by Disney Plus, and there's no questioning what's going on over at Disney. And I think this is their chance to do that. And it's going to be painful because we do have to say goodbye to Henry Cavill, who did so much justice to the Superman franchise. But in order to reboot a story, you're going to have to tell different stories. And you're going to have to come up with certain through lines and certain plot lines that are going to tie everything together. And you see some of these possibilities, even though they didn't spell it out. This is going to be a really great way to kind of kick things off because Superman is the baseline of the Marvel universe. I mean, excuse me, the DC universe, and to kind of kick off with him and starting with that story. I think what we're going to see is a certain Man of Steel type story that didn't go into this dichotomy inside Clark Kent / Kal-El, but in the comics it did. You know, this was him being raised in Kansas and all this sort of stuff, but him being genetically and physically a Kryptonian, who craves solitude, hence the Fortress of Solitude, doesn't really, have this reactionary tone and doesn't, really have this emotional connection to people that we think that he does. And so it's going to be an interesting way to start off the storyline and maybe even set the board for him not being just this one-dimensional super good guy that just swoops around saving everybody. And it's going to be a nice reboot for a story that hasn't been told yet, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Superman Legacy movie is going to lead us right into the Authority, which is their big like superhero. They're gonna, basically it's gonna be they basically said it's in an ensemble film about superhumans who have less an idealistic approach to saving the world. So I like that. I like that sentence because it makes me think it's gonna be darker. Like if they have a less than idealistic, they're not gonna take the superhero approach. They're gonna take an approach that probably is off, but it's very reminiscent of movies like that we've gotten from Marvel, the big superhero, where we get everybody in one film or we get a lot of different ones. So I'm excited about that. Now, Christi, I know this is news to you. This is all brand new, but I thought this one was going to be something. There was a TV series that they announced today that I think you will really, really love. Viola Davis also announced this, that they are focusing. They're going to focus on Waller, which is one of their new television projects.
She's horrible.
Which is about her. And and they said instead of Peacemaker, will appear instead of the Peacemaker 2, Peacemaker team is going to appear alongside Davis as a continuation of that show. And so they're going to have, it's going to be more centralized around her. And I think this is kind of good because, like you said, she's terrible. She's awful, but we don't know. We've never really understood what her motivation. Awesome. We don't understand her motivation. And I think this series, because it's a TV series, is going to give her more life.
Make it make sense.
Make it all make sense, right? So, Christi, what are your thoughts? What is just your initial reaction to this potential Waller series, which I personally am super excited because I know Viola Davis does not sign on to do anything. Like, it's got to be on a level. It's got to be storytelling, especially on not a level. Now. Yeah, she doesn't have to, right?
She's pretty well defined at this point. Before this point, but even in this space, I will say, y'all know who I love. So I'm gonna try not to knock DC as harshly as I usually do. But again, it's all because of this is what they're doing and they're trying to fix it. So I do appreciate that they're trying to fix it, and we've got some. They got some splaining to do in these shows, because you're right. I couldn't understand when I watched Suicide Squad. I was like, what's her deal? Like, do we even act like that? But it's got to be a really good, and I'm sure it's going to be a really good backstory to her as to why she's so vengeful and just mean and just hateful, it seems. Again, which is really shocking because we don't, I don't know. But I do feel like it's hard for me because I think of how established and how clear and concise Marvel has pretty much always been for the most part. Since we all started paying attention, I guess, a few decades ago in the big cinematic space. And it just feels like, oh God, please DC, get it together. Cause I really loved the Batman. Y'all know that. And Selena Kyle is the doll that I have back here that I was like calling something else. I don't know, but I also got her for Christmas. But I love that. And I love the Batman franchise anyway, just because I started way back when. And so I love those things. I appreciate those things, and I want them to get it together and stick to, something. But I do love the idea of pulling in shows, smaller shows, telling, more enriching stories. And there is a level of intrigue when it comes to Amanda Waller, because again, I was really late to the whole Suicide Squad thing. Like I didn't get it at first. I talked about this before. I couldn't stand the crocodile thing. I was like, I don't. It's not that he was a crocodile or whatever, alligator. I don't know what he is. It wasn't that. It was his demeanor, and the character was so badly written. It was yo, and I was like, don't nobody do that. If y'all trying to make him black, I mean, we doing it all the way. Like, what white dude wrote that in?
Right.
And so it was so obvious. But Amanda Waller always stuck with me, and I thought, you know, she just so damn mean. I just need to know why. So I that part, you got me on that.
Yeah,
you got me on that.
I'm excited though, because I feel like they said, they're putting everything under one house. So everything that is animated, everything that is television, everything that is movie, they're really following the, you know, the Disney Plus, Disney Marvel format, where it all is like every story leads to the next, and everything you can grab from this one, and because it means something maybe in this other one, you know, that comes out 2 years later, and it all just kind of helps make it make sense. The other really cool thing was they were talking about the Brave and the Bold, which is DC Universe's version of Batman, who will exist separately from the version played by Robert Pattinson in Batman movies. The Brave and the Bold will introduce the Bat family, and this is where we're going to get Robin. We're going to get Batman and Robin, and we're going to get a whole thing. And I'm excited about that, because I always felt like the Batman and Robin thing that they did 10, 15, 20 years ago was terrible.
It was.
Well, what it was, it went funny. You know, they went funny. And I've never felt like funny is their strong suit. Like I've always like I think you pointed this out to me, Hilton, and it always stuck with me. When they do dark really well. And why they don't stick to that, why they want to chase like the commercial, you know, like they get it. Like, I mean, the Robert Pattinson movie is the perfect example of how emo Batman was the Batman we needed. We needed that dark guy who was troubled and had all these issues. And so I'm excited about the Brave and the Bold. What are your thoughts? Because I know you were reading into all of it and seeing, there's a Supergirl movie. There's a prequel to Wonder Woman, even like just exploring like where, like before Diana was born, this island of women. I mean, there are a lot of really cool products. Yeah. There are a lot of really cool projects that are coming that are just, I think, going to lay the foundation. Like this is almost like what Marvel did 20 years ago. It's like this is
the foundation of a new world building. And
I love it.
You know, the cool thing is that in the comic book world, you know, if you were reading comic books when a lot of these were coming out, you know, these two labels were kind of playing off of one another, right? They would try to one up one another. And this goes back decades, you know, into the 30s and 40s. You know, they had Superman, we got Captain Marvel, you got, you know, this character, we got that character. You know, it was always this little one up, going all the way up into the 90s, where you saw some, you know, characters just being mirrored, storylines, subject matter being tackled. And so I don't really think it's out of character for them to do this in a certain way with the cinematic and the television universe. So basically, you know, Amanda Waller being the DC version of Nick Fury, you know, who, you know, she's mysterious and she's got, you know, she's a you know,
mean
real,
streak.
You know, mean, evil, willing to kill, no nonsense, you know, you name
by
it.
No means necessary.
Right. And I think there's a way, if you look at some of these titles, you got that darkness being woven in, right? And I think that's what I'm most excited about, because the you know, this Batman thread that they're going to tell, yes, it's kind of got the Bat family, but it's not the Bat family like you'd see in the Super Friends or, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, this is Damian Wayne. Like Damian Wayne is Bruce Wayne's son, who's raised by Ra's al Ghul in the, you know, the League of Shadows. You know, this was like a real, you know, dark kid who's like shows up on the scene at like age 13, wondering like, why are you imprisoning all these people you should be killing? Like that was his Robin. Right. So you got like these characters that have these dark sides, but they're being introduced all at once as opposed to kind of piecemealing them together, which could take 10, 12 movies if you're trying to introduce them sequentially, which is too much to take on. But you also see projects like Swamp Thing coming back.
Yes!
I don't know if Swamp Thing is going to be like the miniseries that ran, about 2 or 3 years ago on cable, but I hope so. Because that is like the dark, like magic and evil and, just, oh my God. Your point about the idea of there being all of these ensemble characters who have a different version of saving the world is completely embodied in a character like Swamp Thing. Yes. His version of saving the world is saving the world for plants. Whether or not humans are here or not is just coincidental. So, he'll fight alongside you, but he's not really fighting to save so much the human race, except for maybe the 1 or 2 humans he actually gives a darn about.
Yeah.
But, their version of saving the world is different. You have Black Adam, as per the comics and the animated series, who was an anti-hero who felt that saving the world meant getting rid of all these people like who are causing all this trouble and not obeying his laws, even though he's been gone for 5,000 years. Right. There are all these people on the front lines of this hero front fighting whatever enemy is going to be on the other side of the field. Yes. But they're fighting with these different ideas. And I think there's so much fodder there for great storytelling, great character development, correcting some old wrongs. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be a lot of people complaining at every step of the way until we get to that first movie and that first series and that first show. And I think James Gunn, he's got a good handle on world building. He's done some amazing work with Disney. And so I'm looking forward to it. And you're already starting to see them cancel out some of the series. Like they just canceled, the next season of Titans. Like Titans is gone. And so we're not going to see those characters anymore. And they're just clearing the field.
You know what? It needed to be done because I felt like it was just a level, and I am, obviously I'm a producer, I'm an actress, and this is not criticizing any work, but the reality is that it all just seemed like it was just being done and nobody was talking to each other. Like how crazy is that they've got all these checkpoints and but I think it was just a bunch of, projects that were under different, production companies, and everybody was just going for it, and everyone was trying to save DC. Now it's one umbrella. And if you notice, like Marvel's been running this way for almost 20 years now. It's been one umbrella, and everything's connected and everything goes through everything. And it just seems like I'm glad because, Peter Safran and James Gunn, they come from this world. So they know how that system works. And they're just smart to take that blueprint and run with it. And just like you said, create and world build and just give us these amazing characters that we want. We want these characters. Yeah. And I feel like I know there's been like, blowback because a lot of these actors that we love are leaving. But it's like, it's almost one of those things of if you have them there, then they bring that story that they told. It's almost like you can't have Henry Cavill there and him not bring the stories that he told. We almost need a fresh start, and it doesn't mean he can't come back. Like they keep saying over and over, we have not fired him. It's just right now we need to tell these stories and then we'll get there.
They gotta regroup. Yeah.
Definitely. Don't wait too long. That man's not getting no younger, and he can't stay jacked like that until his 40s and 50s. Now, we got.
I think it's good being an actor. Like he almost needs to go and like get his Oscar nomination and do his amazing work and all this other, and then he can come back and play with us if he wants to.
He just need to make up his mind because he's not gonna be the Witcher, and he's not gonna be Superman, and he's not gonna be. I'm like, okay, y'all need to. He's not Warhammer, like. Give that man a role. Like
right. He's an excellent actor. Like, what are y'all doing? Like what? Like The Witcher, I didn't understand. Like The Witcher, they're crazy. They should have let him do another season of that. But okay, so I just need to send a shout out. This is just on GP. The Oscar nominations came out this past couple weeks ago. Angela Bassett got her due. She got her nomination. Yes, girl. Yes. We got a bunch of people who were looked at, but someone was overlooked, and that was Viola Davis.
Of course.
Viola Davis. And now there's this whole conspiracy around the Best Actress nominee, and there's a whole investigation because another actress got in And it was like this last minute campaigning. And they said, there are rules, like you can't lobby to get an Oscar nomination. Like they can put up billboards, they can, promote, they can do whatever. But in the like the 100th hour, there were all these celebrities who were saying, you got to give this woman a nomination. You got to nominate her, And one of the producers had basically said, oh, Viola's a shoo-in. This person's a shoo-in. This person's a shoo-in. And it ended up costing Viola Davis her Oscar nomination.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's some stuff going on. And I won't blame that actress because obviously it was the production. I feel like the production company was the one spearheading this. And a lot of times actors get caught in the fray. But Viola Davis, I mean, Woman King, like, come on. Like,
incredible.
Come on. Like,
what she had to do physically for that role and emotionally for that role.
Yeah.
This is not a 30-year-old woman. I ain't gonna tell her guy on Tyler Perry's internet. I'm not gonna say her age, but she's not 30 no more. So the role that she played where she was kicking everybody in the ass.
And
like
running,
with
20 and 30-year-old women running with them. Like, it wasn't a stunt double. It was Viola Davis.
And wielding those weapons that are not, even though they're not the actual full-on thing, it's like they still have there's some gravity there. And it's like she just defied all the odds. And she really always has. It's really sad.
That movie was underdog to begin with. It came out from a studio that didn't have a huge budget to make the movie, didn't have a huge budget to promote the movie, and it did good numbers, much better numbers than anybody expected. It
defied the odds that everyone in it was a favorite. Like,
but it really could have been if it had been distributed in more theaters on opening weekend. If it had more promo, it could have really been a blockbuster. But the studio and all that didn't put the money behind it and the faith behind it, and the backing behind it to make that happen. And so it's still coming out. There's less people who have seen it, less people who are sitting there lobbying it, especially since it's seen as like an Us movie, and I think that a lot of that played into the fact that I just think there's just so many people who haven't seen the movie yet.
And
you know what I mean?
You're crazy. Go see Woman King because it is honestly, there are award-winning performances. It's no joke. Man. The story needs to be told. The story needs to be heard. Viola Davis was a producer, her and her husband. This was their production company. They pulled it together. Like she was on, I think. Of love. Yeah, it was like she was on one of those actors, like how they have the actors talking around the round table or whatever. And she said from the beginning, like she had to go in and fight. Like she had to explain. And she goes, and no other culture has to do, other cultures do have to do this, but she goes, if this would have been a white man or a white woman, they'd have been like, tell the story, tell the history. But because it was an African story and it was a woman and it was like female led and it was,
strike one, strike two, strike three. Yeah.
And she was like, and the fact that I'm still having to go in there and tell them that we're bankable and that we are worth the budgets and the money and the productions is crazy.
The fact that it's not on streaming right now. Why is it not on
Netflix? Because it came out on Prime before Black Forever.
Yeah,
there should be, the streaming platform should have been lined up to pick this movie up as soon as it came out of the theaters, and they're not there. And that distribution, because when did this movie leave the theaters? It was about 6 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that. Yeah. So it's like there was a whole second run. And eventually it will make it to a streaming service.
Right.
But for the purposes of the Oscars, there's 6 months or however many months of non-viewing and not being in the limelight that this movie would have had a second life and a second leg if the minute it came out of the theaters, even if it went to something like Tubi or Peacock, just somewhere for people to see it. We would have had a second life, and it's still out there, not yet on a streaming service, which I think is more to that point you were making. About her not being able to get the backing.
I think that's bizarre. Number one, because as you were giving that timeline, like again, it came out 6 to 8 weeks before Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever has been in theaters for 2.5 months, and it is coming in 2 days to stream. And so for that to still not be available is unbelievable. I mean, I think it's available for purchase, but it hasn't been streamed. So it's weird, whatever they've done. But I'll say this also, Karen, to your point about, you know, how she had to go in and if she had been anybody else, you know, I love Steven Spielberg. Like, he's always got it right. I've enjoyed all of his works. He is phenomenal. He is a force. He is the blueprint. But if he decided he was going to do this film, there'd be no question. There would be no meeting about, no second, no phone, no doubt whatsoever. And he would be given fair, whatever you want. Like, we doing it. And I think that is the most egregious, you know, evidence of exactly, you know, just how the wrong, oh Lord, that I don't even know how we get to write them, because it's always something. It's conditional, and now it's like everybody, we're just, how are we still saying that we're not bankable? Like, I don't.
Right? Why is Hollywood so like? Why are they so like anti-color?
It's a cycle. You know, you have on one end, you have movies that are telling our stories, and you go all the way back to The Help and what is it? Fences, or, you know, enter these great Black stories that are told by Black casts, Black writers, Black producers that go into movie theaters and make the money it costs to make them. So they make table. You know, they break even and then some, right? But because they're not making $800 million or $900 million, the studio doesn't look at them as bankable, not because they lose money, but it's then cyclical, because the next movie that comes along, they say, well, if it's only going to make 100 million and it's going to cost 10 million, you know, we don't, that's a rounding error at Paramount. Like, we're not really looking at 100 million. We're looking for that $500 million we were trying to make. And so we're not going to put the money in to get the distribution, to get the promotion, and get all the resources.
Like, everything ain't top gun.
And so we just keep going in this loop. And I also got to put a little bit of it on us too, because, you know, we get divided quick.
That's
true. You know, we line up pretty good behind movies like Black Panther, but Woman King, you know, there was like a third of us out here that was on some bullshit. Let's be honest. And early on, like oh, you know, this movie is this and this. Like, the movie even out yet? What are you doing posting conspiracy theories about the movie that hasn't come out yet? Like, go see it, then don't like it, and then post about it. That's how things supposed to work. And so we work against ourselves, and outside of our community, they see that. Like, oh, y'all are not a monolith. You know, we like to we say we're really proud about the fact that we are diverse and we are not a monolith, but to the point that we don't collectively come together around properties that, you know, speak to us and for us is a problem. And I'm not going to say nothing too controversial here.
Say it.
Crazy Rich Asians. Every Asian I know saw that movie twice.
A million times. I went to see it a million times. I love that movie.
It was a fantastic movie, deserving of all of its flowers. But then there were other movies called, like, I think it was one called like Family Visit or something, Stephen Coe or something like that. It was an Easter movie, you know, like about Filipinos and stuff. And that movie wasn't really that good. Even from the people I know in the Pinay community said it wasn't that good, but they still lined up to support it. And you didn't see a whole bunch of trash talking about the movie online. They kept their mouth closed because they knew that they had to represent and they had to back and be a united front. And we don't have that reflex when it comes to our stuff. And we go out there and tear our stuff down. And then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. But go ahead, Christi. I know Christi about to blow.
And I should have
put her glasses on.
Her granny glasses.
I took my strings off. I took my thing off.
Oh, you took the strings off.
I did. I took my holder off. Listen, I do want to say this though, Hilton. Everything you're saying is absolutely fact. It is no lies detected, right?
No lies detected.
But I will say this though about that. And we coming up on, you know, our month is coming, baby. It's blackity black. Everything black.
6 hours.
So I'm gonna say this though. We have also, as a people, as an entire existence of people, have been, first of all, when you're stripped of everything, like I'm gonna go back because it is generational. It has been repeated. There's always been somebody.
No lies detected.
Listen, I'm gonna just put this real quick bookmark out there. Everybody needs to go and either not, you need to do both. You need to pick up the book 1619 Project, and you also need to watch the show that is now on Hulu 1619. Because I'm gonna tell you something that exactly to your point. The other side of that, it is a double-edged sword, sadly. And we the only people, we the only ones. It's the only ones that, if you break down everybody and how it is, we're the only ones that were, you know, chattel slavery was just so freaking damaging. And it still shows its ugly, nasty, filthy, funky face every single day in our current existence. So much so that we're always going to have that one that's going to, and right now we got a lot of them.
This
we got
week
people
it's
that
been rough.
started. We got people that starting podcasts about how bad, why Black Panther is so terrible. And I just came across that. And when I tell you, I hit that X button, like that ain't for me. I don't want to watch that. You're talking to the wrong one. So, I mean, we always will have that because those people were groomed. They were created. That's why we had slavers and they were Black. That's why we had, you know, look at what happened this past weekend. My Lord, like the 5 Black officers killing this young man. And it's just, it's been ingrained in our very existence here in this country alone. I don't need to even get into the global element of it, but really in this country alone. So it's, while I do agree wholeheartedly, like it is only us, we don't know how to show up because we're always going to have that population of us that, you know, I always got something to say. Excuse me, I be trying to watch my mouth. That always got something curse with the glasses on. I know, right? My little baby.
You see, she pulled them off real quick after she like, I need to let loose.
I know. I don't want to cuss and be looking all intelligent and old, but I just think it's a sad space that we have to always come to grips with. There's no other set of people. Many people who ended here outside of the original indigenous people who were also people of color, and lots of us there too. So, who were forced to be here and be stripped of everything and have to spend generation after generation trying to get back and remember this like it is. And it was, and it will be, but it's just so hard. It's hard. I had a conversation not too long ago with somebody, and they were there was this on the fence person in the room. And then there was myself and another person who knew where we stood, who was able to, we could talk about our politics, we could talk about our faith, we could talk about whatever, but we knew where we stood, and there was a common ground understanding. But if you have somebody that's on the fence about things, it's certain things you can't say. You don't say in front of those people because you don't know how that's going to process for them. So it's the same way when it comes to film. I have learned to stay out of social media world, talking bad about, you know, certain film, like Karen, you know, I did not care for Black Adam. But what I didn't do was get on Blue Ivy's internet and say, oh, don't go see it. No, go see it for yourself. There's so many people who love that, and I heard but I was like, but I'm not watching it on streaming just because, and maybe I do need to watch it again just because.
I actually watched it again and it wasn't as bad, but it's just not great. Like
there were some elements that I enjoyed.
There was so much hype. Like they had us going like
that was the thing. That was the thing about that movie.
That was it.
That was the thing about the movie, is that the hype was at an 11 and the movie was like a 7.5, which is great.
The Rock had us going up in there and I fell asleep.
Yeah,
this brother was in Hall H, levitating in the middle of Times Square, you know, MCing and traveling the world, piping this up, doing commercials, breaking into other people's commercials.
Can you imagine, like, if Woman King would have gotten 1/10 of that?
Yeah.
Like like, come on.
Yeah.
And it was a movie worth the publicity. And like, I agree with both of you. And I think one of the ways is like us having these conversations, like having these conversations help you peel back that onion. Like, it needs to be peeled back. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be one of those situations where we, we realize what we're doing to our own projects and our own stuff. And we cry because we don't have, we don't have the representation, or we don't have the films, or we don't have this, or we don't have that, and we're upset. But it's like, why are you upset when you don't even support it?
Yeah, what have you supported that would move the needle?
That would move the needle
on that condition. You should have a portfolio, almost like stock.
What have you done to
like,
add
okay,
to
if this is something I'm passionate about, if I don't think that we get enough scholarship money and to go to college, or if I don't think HBCUs are getting enough federal money or state money, or like, okay, well, what are you doing to take that on? You ain't gotta like everything I like. You ain't gotta uptalk everything. You ain't gotta smile and stuff if it's not something you love. But you should be, all of your energy should be moving toward the positive.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't do that. And we end up with, this, like I said, this cycle of, not seeing the movies we want to get made, not seeing the actors we want to support getting cast, not seeing the equity in pay, not seeing, you name it, the list goes down.
The list goes on.
It goes on and on. That is true. That is true.
Well,
it's hard. Like, what do you do?
One of our homework assignments, which I think is very timely in this conversation, was the Netflix show, the new show, You People. And we had to watch it. And let me tell you, I thought this show was brilliant.
It's a movie. It's a movie, people. It's not a show. It's a movie.
And I thought it was brilliant on how it handled the reaction of racism, the reaction of just the misunderstandings, and when
the culture shock,
the culture shock of two cultures being married together, and
two very definitive cultures.
Oh yeah, very different cultures. Okay, so the movie stars. Let's go over this. The movie stars, the excellent, the underrated. I feel one of the actors who deserves everything, Mr. Eddie Murphy. Yeah. He deserves everything because he is very. He's just a very accomplished actor. I love to see him when he does things that are more dramatic, because he has a way of being dramatic, but also being funny. And it stars Eddie Murphy, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, David Duchovny, but who brought it home for me was Lauren London and Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. These two, Jonah Hill, Lauren London, are two different individuals who are running around life, who can't seem to get relationships right. And they both, want to be in a more, they want to have a relationship. They're like every, 20 something, 30 something that's looking for love. Right. And they just happen to meet each other in the craziest way. He gets in her car thinking she's an Uber driver. And honestly, the Uber driver was just like her. It was her. And the two people who shouldn't meet, a Jewish boy from Brentwood and a Muslim girl, who she's from Baldwin Hills, which is like the Beverly Hills of the black, like it's the black community. Like, this is where all the LA people come from. And these two meet, and they honestly have a connection, and they have a connection because they actually listen to each other. They actually laugh with each other. They find some sort of common ground, and they fall in love. Like, they are unapologetically connected. They fall in love. They pursue this, and they don't care Well, they kind of care because they don't really tell their parents about each other until they're in it. You know, they get into a full-on relationship, and it isn't until they're actually living together and he tells his mom, I love her. I'm gonna ask her to marry me. Like, this girl is everything. And I mean, you believe it. I believe this relationship. I have to compliment these actors because they did such a good job of showing a true connection. And I think that's some of the things that we forget. Like, you fall in love with who you fall in love with. When the stars align, I think it doesn't matter. Like, you know, I have no problem with interracial relationships. I've only ever had problems with people who are like, I don't date Black women, or I don't date, you know, like, you know, those people, like people who are just like, their issues are too much.
Or they do it. I only do this at the expense of hurting somebody else. So that's the other thing.
When like, you know it's their issue is the reason that they date who they date. So right. So but this couple, they come in just wanting love and they fight it with each other. And it's sweet, it's cute. And then you meet the parents. Yes, it's funny as hell. You meet the parents and they're, I mean, obviously Eddie Murphy plays. He plays
David
the blackest.
Duchovny? Is he the dad? He's David.
Yes, David Duchovny was the But these parents, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with it. And even in 2023, this happens to, like, I remember asking my mom, like, when my mom is Mexican and when she dated my father, I asked her, like, how was that? You know, and she, like, literally people disowned her from the family. Like, they were like, she was like, they didn't talk to her. She wasn't invited. And I remember growing up in certain, you know, like certain people's houses we'd go to, and you knew the racist house, you knew the one who might say something crazy, you knew, you know, we just, and my mom was like, Mama Bear, like she would freaking scratch your eyes out if you even looked at me sideways. Like she was like serious, but this dealt with that issue in a whole nother way. But what were your thoughts? Because it was so funny, the way that the reaction that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was some of her best work. This David Duchovny, he didn't know what to do with the girl, so he started singing "Ordinary People."
Oh, that was a scene right there. That was a scene.
That was so funny.
Let me just say, for this show, I went in with very low expectations because this story has been told before many times. The last one that we might know is Guess Who?
Guess Who with Bernie Mac.
Yep, that was the last time we kind of saw this setup, and it was great fodder for comedy. And you put a bunch of comedy actors in a room and you let them all play with it, and you get a halfway decent movie, pretty much no matter what the script is, because you got Bernie Mac, you know, and you got Zoe Saldana and everything, and then it worked. So I will say this to anyone who was thinking like me: this is the same movie, but it's a lot better done.
It's got a better
script
story.
Is better.
Yeah.
You actually feel invested in the relationship between the two because they actually spend time going into how they met, why they fall in love, what they have in common, and their decision to move forward despite, you know, their obvious differences and things like that. So by the time the families get together and start chipping away at each other, you're already invested and hoping and like, oh my God, I really hope that nobody says anything crazy because I want this couple
and you
to
know
win.
It's coming.
Because,
it's coming.
And they set it up. I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus she's in the movie before Eddie Murphy. And she's already dizzy. She's already, you know, she's doing at church. Thing, you know, and they're ad-libbing. They go off script a lot. And always. Jonah Hill is known for this. He is him and, you know, Will Ferrell and that whole echelon of comedy actors have been known for being able to go on scene and say, okay, in general, what is supposed to happen? And then just let it go right off the rip. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus meets him head on, and you watch them just do this Second City, whose line is it anyway? You know, improv scene where they're just scene after scene of them just you know it's off the top of the dome. And it's funny because it gives it its authenticity of what an organic conversation would look like when you're trying not to allow your mom to say something crazy, or you're trying to
stop. It's right there.
Like, and we've all been there. We've all been there where you're like, please, Lord, don't tell that story again. Or, this is not what we were talking about. And you're going to, right? So that part of it just allowed for so much comedy gold to happen in the scene. David Duchovny comes in, who is not a comedy actor, right?
Not, but was so hilarious.
Just so deadpan. I don't know how they brought him in and said, okay, this is the character you're going to play. You are not a supporting actor. You're the supporting actor supporting the supporting actors.
Yeah.
But you're going to have some scenes where you just got to keep a straight face. You have to have firm conviction and be as ignorant as you can be. And he ran that so perfectly. He's going to get recognized for this, and he's probably going to get other roles.
He deserves it. Oh,
now man. I'm gonna tell you what something about Eddie Murphy that I really, really like.
Yes,
Eddie Murphy could have got into this film with all of the Eddie Murphy that we know. Eddie Murphy, and he could have just ate up. He could have ate up every scene.
He could have Kevin Harted it, and like
he could have Kevin Harted it.
He could have just stomped us to the ground with his comedy,
and we would have loved straight man the whole film. And he was like, you know what? I'm Eddie Murphy. I come in with a certain organic level of comedy just because I'm on the screen. Yes. All I have to do is use this expertise to set everybody. I can tee everybody up.
And they're
let everybody hit the punchline.
They're gonna win.
And that's what happens. He walks in the room. He don't tell not nary a joke. He's not getting no punchlines. He's not getting none of that. He is the baseline that everybody else gets laughs off of. But those laughs, he is responsible for.
He literally was deserves like the Scottie Pippen. He's like giving them the layup.
He's just laying it up. Alley-oop, assist after assist. And for somebody of his level who could very easily see this as like one of his comeback movies where he's got to be over the top and he's got to eat up every scene. For him to play the stoic character, who's just I mean, he doesn't even raise his voice.
He was
this whole movie
hilarious,
just flatline. And the last thing I'm going to say, which I think separates this movie from what every other movie that we've seen do this, is that they go all the way there,
all the way.
I mean, all the way there.
They
could have let it be just black and white. A black and white dynamic would have been enough with this cast. They could have left it there, but they said, no, we got to have a Jewish, like a really devout Jewish family.
Yeah.
And we got to have a really, really devout Muslim family. And not just any Muslim. We're talking about, Nation of Islam-ish.
Yeah. Like Fred Hammond was murdered on that T-shirt. First time we see him. We knew where Eddie stood just with the sweatshirt.
As soon as he show up on the scene, you're cussing out the coffee shop because there's light-skinned people here.
It was
kinky hair. It's just you to have that
I gotta take y'all to that
level
restaurant.
of dynamic happen and tackle that without being super cartoonish.
Yeah,
and not going completely off the rails. Like Jonah Hill has had some movies that have gone off the rails. Yeah, it's still been funny, but like Superbad went off the rails. But that was what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, and we loved it. Yeah,
but they kept it on the rails, and he ended up being one of the centerpieces. Eddie Murphy and Lauren London managed to be the centerpiece actors for which everybody was able to kind of spin around. And Lauren London, didn't do a whole lot of zany stuff. She didn't have any like super emotional scenes, but she really, really played that anchor role. And it might be, in my humble opinion, one of her best roles.
Yeah. One of her best.
Yeah. And because
it literally is her best.
I'm a fan, but I'm not a fan. Like
she became an actress.
Somebody said it.
Yeah.
Somebody said it, and it sticks with my head forever now. They said Lauren London has the same acting ability as Michael B. Jordan. And I was like,
you had to take
that is absolutely right. You said everything. You said it all. But she did great in this movie, so I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
And I hope people get to see it because there's a lot of dialogue happening that needs to happen in the real life.
But what I think we need to congratulate is obviously Jonah Hill, Kenya Barris, and Kevin Meisher, who were the producers. They're the ones who came together and said, we need to tell this story. But like you said, they go there. I had some of my white friends were like, wow, that was a lot to unpack. That is a lot to think about when you date outside of your race. And I go, it really isn't if you are actually like, you actually love the fact that they love each other and their love is greater than any of the differences. It really isn't that much to unpack. But if it's something to unpack, then you have to like start unpacking. Like, don't be afraid. Like and what I loved is that the parents realized how terrible that they were the ones. It wasn't the love affair. It wasn't the kids. Their love was pure. And I think that's where you're right. That's where Lauren London really sold it, is that we believed she was in love with Jonah and we believed Jonah was in love with her. Mm-hmm. And it was, this relationship there was nothing fake to it. There was nothing, obviously this wasn't even the type of guy or girl that they would have ever dated. Their parents were pushing all these other people to them. And it was like, they went for the one who was nice to them, the one that listened to them, the one that cared about them and just treated them the way that you want to be treated in a love affair and in a love story, But Christi, I know you had so many thoughts. This movie, I just felt like it just is what this conversation needs to be. Mm-hmm. It's mm-hmm. where we need to have the Christi was probably, I think, were you yelling, laughing, crying? I literally got sad when the story changed.
Yeah,
and we were worried that they were
they weren't going to pull it off. I thought, oh, they're really going to go in that direction, and kind of, because we've seen movies do that where people literally are like, well, then we had to be happy, but we learned whatever.
But how many times in real life have we heard of couples who were like interracial couples and the family made it unbearable for them to even exist?
It's a real
thing. So they actually just go, you know what, it's better for us not to be together.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's just easier.
What were we thinking?
Yeah.
And so let me first of all, everything. I couldn't hardly contain myself because it was so, everything you all just touched on. There were so many parts. I mean, again, the way they were able to, these were A-listers, everybody, from even what's the guy? Oh my God, from the grandmother, Jonah Hill, who plays grandmother.
Oh, I'll give it to you. Keep going.
Oh my God.
Rhea Perlman was here. We had Sam J here. We had Nia Long was the mother.
Well, of course, I can't ever overlook Nia Long.
Yeah,
I mean, gorgeous self.
The level
the level of talent that I'm sorry. I just want to talk about, like, even after they left church, it was so funny, or temple. It was like, the doctor, just the conversations of the men that were coming up to Jonah. It just, these were classic individuals. And it was so, you always worry about when you have such definitive differences between these two, with cultures, right? Is it going to be so overtly stereotypical? And what it was literally reality. I mean, it was, you had some parts that were just for straight up comedy, right? When you have, what's his name? Oh my God, what's his name from Blackish?
Dion Cole.
Dion damn Cole is a fool.
Mike Epps was in there.
The Tron glowing suits. I got 40 of them.
Listen, that was hilarious. Like,
a Tron wedding. I was like, okay.
There's always a cousin or somebody that can do help. I've been that cousin, that can just like, we're gonna pull it off and we're gonna make it work, but outside of that, the authenticity of, again, you had this odd couple, what society and what culture and what heritage and tradition would deem. Right. Matter of fact, probably society doesn't give a crap these days. It's more so about these individuals who feel so deeply rooted, but they're kind of ish. You know what I mean? Just like with that cussing in church, that was hysterical to me. That whole exchange with Jonah Hill and his family, like,
standing up for 40 minutes.
It was classic comedy, and I think being able to relate to all of those things. Like, I can't relate to being Muslim, but I am very much aware. And Eddie, I just love Omar Epps for calling him Woody. Like, your name is Woody. That's what your mama named you. I'm gonna call you what your mama named you.
Well, you always got the uncle that's gonna keep it real. Like your brother. Yeah. He's like, I ain't gonna let you Akbar me.
I could drop names. No, you didn't change your name.
I knew you before you were part of the nation. Like, I knew you.
Name is Tony.
But I want to I first of all, congratulations to Lauren London. I mean, this is her first film since Nipsey's death or murder. And they also, we see Nipsey, we see a billboard, some graffiti art, in tribute to him in the film. It was just an incredible, I love the culture of it. Oh my God. Let's talk about, our friend.
She can't even take it in. She's like,
who's Mo? They
Sam
play
J.
Mo.
Sam J.
Man,
Sam J.
listen.
Oh yeah.
Sam J.
Yeah.
Listen.
I'm telling you, the one to watch. Like comedian.
When they're on the plane, and Kenya Barris actually makes a cameo in the film and on the plane. And when Eddie comes to sit down and she's like, yeah, I'm a girl. I got titties.
Well, he's like, you brothers. Like he instantly assumes that Mo is a guy, and she's like, I got titties.
Oh man, I just was like, yo, it's so real because, and again, there's another struggle. Like we deal with genders and we deal with how to acknowledge people. Just like now, I almost had like the aneurysm trying to make sure I didn't, be offensive,
right?
And say she, he, it, they. I just want to be. I want to be sensitive to those things.
Right.
And so, because I understand that, and it's like, oh my God, boy, that was so realistic though, when he was like, I ain't know, but they handled it so brilliantly.
With Sam J, the role that they played in the movie was so pivotal because Sam J's character, Mo, was like the oracle. Like, so he would go out like his touchstone for Black culture is them. Right. So in this podcast, there's no, oh, you're going to be all right. And, oh, this is going to work out.
It was real.
Sam Mo's like, it ain't going to work.
Yeah. No, like you bad, you a real one? Like you're just shocked.
Like what you doing?
You stepping outside the line.
Yeah, like letting him know.
You really thought that just because you appreciate the culture, you can have a piece of the culture? Did you really think that?
Like if you're on a podcast with this person and you're having this daily or weekly dialogue.
Like
and his appreciation and his lens through which he engages the culture as a white man from the uppity part of Beverly Hills, as a Jew coming into this Black community, you can tell it comes through, Jay's character, right, Mo. Yes. And so they keep going back and he's kind of like either in the podcast or in direct conversations. It's almost like this processing for him, but it ends up being processing for us, the viewer, as well, because we're not in Eddie Murphy's character's head. We're not in Lauren London's character's head. We're not in Lauren London's mother's character's head, Nia Long. We're out here in the audience, but we're in Mo's head. We're on Mo's side. Like we need come back to your corner from this boxing match.
Yeah.
And let's have this talk. Like, this is a bull job, blah, 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 blah. This is the reality. And having that touchstone like really help process it. Again, we've seen this movie before 2, 3, 4 times, and it was a lot of ways they could have just rehashed old material, made some barbecue rib jokes, and he can't do the electric slide or something like that, and it would have been like nothing. But they really went into the gritty, and it was rough. Yeah, and some of those scenes were hard to watch.
Well,
I like Julia Louis-Dreyfus'
character.
She's trying,
I loved it.
But she's still
saying all the things you're not supposed to say, and it's just bad. But you know what I loved? I love the fact that it took you into each of the cultures, right? But remember when they were in the temple, and then they have this whole dialogue. Her and Jonah have this whole dialogue, and they start cussing, and it's like, okay, you're protecting this temple and this image, and we're Jewish and you should marry a Jewish girl, but you're in temple cussing. Like, it's almost like, what are we holding on to? What are we holding on to here? Are we holding on to what we believe in? Are we holding on to what we've been taught to be true? Are we really going to allow that to stand in the way of two individuals who genuinely love each other, who genuinely have found a way? And I love the scene where Eddie Murphy takes Jonah to the basketball court and says, okay, well, you talked about picking up games, and is this like that park? And he's like, and at first we're like, oh, Jonah's about to get just killed. And he actually,
when he pulled out his phone, it was like, yep,
yeah, and he was like, yeah, and he was like
breaking ankles.
He basically wanted to clown him, but then he gets in there and actually plays with the guys. He actually did run games with these guys, and they were all loving him. They were all friends, and it was almost like Eddie had that moment of like I gotta still hate him. I gotta still hate him because that's what I'm supposed to do. He's not a Muslim. Like he's not the man that I want my daughter to bring home. And it almost comes back to where, and this is what the fun. This is another scene I really loved, where him and his brother Mike Epps are in the car together, and this is after they've broken up. And Mike Epps, the uncle that has a record, the uncle who steals, the uncle, the uncle that you like just go, oh,
he steal, but he don't kill. He ain't. He like he
uncle. The uncle that you're supposed to like be ashamed of. He's the one who comes to him and says, man, you were really giving it to him. Like, you really destroyed their relationship. And why? Because you're Akbar, because you just could not allow your daughter to love a white man. And Eddie's just like he just really had to sit with that and go, wow, like it was never them. It was always us. It was always me and the mom. And it was always us who stood in the way.
You know what else they did? I thought was classically brilliant. Because technically these films, if you think about, the history of these films. So when you have your, the original, then the next one, and then this one, Jonah Hill is so average and so, what, again, Hollywood would deem, again, probably wouldn't even make a star if he didn't have that, that
if
support
he wasn't
system.
So intelligent and so talented with his writing and with his producing,
and he got in with he has buddies. I have always appreciated that group of buddies. We got Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, and the list goes on. But they're all part of that that crew, and so and they're funny as hell together. Like I'm not mad at none of it because it works. But they could have gotten anybody else, or Jonah could have just written it and then not been, but Lauren is freaking gorgeous. And to have the two, and I just thought that's the additional, skin deep type of contrast that they did so brilliantly, that there's supposed to be a certain aesthetic, for people to, aside from your faith, because you can walk away from your faith. You can convert, you can do whatever you want, but to have certain things, there's just some things you just can't change. You still gonna be.
See, to your point.
I thought it was great.
That's really on point, Christi, because
I agree.
Like I said, they could have brought one of them Hemsworth brothers in here to play that role, and then everybody would have been like pulling their hair. And, ooh, girl, I love him, girl. Love that boy. Love that white boy. Blah blah blah. But the fact that it's Jonah Hill, who just did a documentary on Netflix, like 2 months ago, about him losing weight and doing his psychotherapy and getting his head right and all this. To your point, being like average, like the most average person that could have played opposite Lauren London you could imagine, even as a white guy, adds validity or adds texture and makes it easier to buy. And like, she must really love him. If she's giving up the kingdom for Jonah Hill, their connection must be off the hook. It's not about
they really seeded it
and money and all this stuff.
Right?
And think about really even Lauren London, like she is, while she's gorgeous, and at the same time, she's got a real African American Black woman body, because she thick than a mug, honey. I was like, oh, I like it. Oh, it's cute.
I'm glad you said it, because I can't be saying stuff like that, because that's inappropriate for me to say. So I want to thank you. I'm trying to help all the men out here who wanted to say it.
It was beautiful.
I got you, Hilton. It's beautiful.
Even now that she's doing her press tour, she's obviously lost weight, and she's like a lot thinner than what she was in the movie.
But I love that
she was beautiful in this movie, and they kept it was a real body. Like they were like, let's go get the skinniest actress, and they wanted a real
Zoe
girl.
Saldana, she played in the last one. So you can again look at Ashton Kutcher, and that was in his, it was not scruffy, it was
prime.
very clean white boy. And then Zoe Saldana, who is, again, she's a lot lot of things. And but a very accomplished
actress, but also she is the stereotype of the black
super thin,
female,
shapely, thing, but not curvy, honey.
Like just if you just think about as a black person, like who would be, the guy that if your sister brought home, right, to meet your parents, like that they would instantly have a problem with, or not get won over by looks.
Right.
Ashton Kutcher would come in and like, okay, he obviously has a job. He's clean cut, boom, boom, boom. You got all this cachet that comes in, with that. But Jonah Hill is like, I'm about to leave my job to be a podcaster, and I'm about to marry your daughter. And about,
gave it all to you.
Black. Those are things that would have been questionable. Like, wait, you leaving your high paying job in finance to be a podcaster,
and you're going into an accomplished black family. Like Eddie Murphy's family was an accomplished black family. It was like, it was the Muslim version of the Huxtables. Like it was like, you know what I'm saying? They were the activist versions, but I think that was how smart this movie was. So you gotta watch it because it's so intelligent. Like you get so many nuggets, but it's like they peel back the onion on everybody. They peel it back on the Jewish family that grew up, that is in Brentwood. They peel it back on the Baldwin Hills Muslim. They peel it back on this love story. They peel it back on all of our preconceived notions of, like you said, like in that first version of this movie where we got the Ashton Kutcher who's very handsome and you get Zoe who's very perfect. And it's like, what? I mean, it's like they gave us a real couple. And they gave us this scenario and they made you feel uncomfortable. They made you feel offended. They made you laugh. And like the like you said, Eddie Murphy is like a surgeon. He is like a silent assassin.
Yeah,
he literally he was literally setting up every single scene. Like it's like that Eddie Murphy brain, just like he knows comedy through and through. Even if you're not going for like the obvious laugh, he gives you the laugh and he gives you all of it. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, David Duchovny, Jonah Hill, Lauren London, everybody.
It was so
like,
good.
Like how do you sit across, knowing the scenario, talking to what is supposed to be an Orthodox Jewish family about your relationship to Farrakhan and not expecting that to blow up the entire dinner, right? Just that just as an actor, like how many takes would I have to do because I'm breaking up laughing just at the scenario. The situational comedy is on 10 throughout the entire show, the entire movie. And it also, it's what gets us through, because what happens is that this is actually, if you strip away the comedy, this is a painful story. These are two people who are really struggling with, she's struggling trying to get on in a white dominated industry as a black woman who didn't go to Harvard. He's trying to get out of Howard. He's doing the other thing, going in the other direction, trying to get away from his privileged position in money and finance, where he's got all of these people that know him, and trying to go into this cultural space. And they're meeting each other on going this way. And so there's all of this angst and pain when they fall in love and everything. But the comedy, even though it exists because of the interaction of these painful situations, it actually acts like a Novocaine that allows us to watch this movie without squirming in our seats. Because if you took away the comedy and made it a drama, this would be there were some real hard arguments and conversations and situations where you were like, you're like, did he bring him with a red sweatshirt into a crip barbershop? He could get him killed. Like, there's stuff in my head that was like, I was sitting there like, man, this is actually rough. And there was some, like I said, some real rough conversations that happened there, but the comedy got us through it, and it allowed it to be digestible. And I think it's the key to its success is that comedy, and the fact that it was able to just be in every corner of every shot, whether it was the subject or whether it was, just kind of like in the background. but it made this movie like really worth watching. I think it was a movie that
so
it was
great.
worthy of the theater. I think this movie was worthy of the theater. It definitely done well in the theater.
And you know what? It was worthy of the theater. And I say congratulations to Kenya Barris. Congratulations to Jonah Hill. Congratulations to the whole cast. They did that. They did that. We didn't talk about Nia Long too much, but Nia Long was there and she was equally fantastic.
I want to say, can I just real quickly? Yes. I want to say Nia Long was so good. And it's so funny because she was the absolute opposite. You would have thought because she was literally on board with everything he was saying, because typically in these films, in the original and then the second, remake of it, typically the mom is the first to be so accepting. And so but I will say this, Nia Long, she was like, tell him, baby, tell him what Farrakhan has said and what he did. She was like, she was all over that. But I have to encourage people. One, you got to watch this. Yes. And then two, you got to go back and watch the original, because Katharine Hepburn, God rest her soul, honey, she gives a read on her lady that worked for her, who she, in the event of this read, ends up terminating her at the same time, because she kept coming around to be nosy, because Sidney Poitier's character was already in the house, he's already arrived. They're waiting on Guess
Who's coming to dinner.
This is Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I'm sorry.
We should get a link. We should put a link when this comes up, maybe somewhere, because it may be on a service somewhere where we can watch it.
Katharine Hepburn, honey, reads this lady down to the ground, under the ground, and sends her on her way. And it is one of the best. It's one of my absolute favorite scenes of all time. Like when there's a great monologue to be learned or had, and she gives that. But Nia Long's character in this new You People is completely opposite from the Katharine Hepburn, that traditional role. But anyway,
I think this is a movie that, based on everything we've discussed here, Christi and Karan, I think it wins because of the script. It wins because of the cast. And I think it kind of wins because of timing. This is perfect timing for this movie to exist. There's nothing else really out there that's kind of in this lane. And it's something that everybody can enjoy, everybody can buy into and understand and relate to, whether you've been through this or not. And again, it's on Netflix. And if you don't have Netflix, why are you watching this? Like,
borrow your friends
$20. Who else has got the password?
Right.
You got somebody's password. What do you do with your life?
Exactly. But it also wins on its comedic intelligence, because, like you said, it helps these hard conversations move, and you don't even realize you've been transformed, or you've been moved to the next. You've been moved through something very uncomfortable. So, guys, we are way over on this show, but it was worth it.
It was worth it.
It's just ordinary people.
That was.
You don't know which way to go.
Like, first of all, he was on key.
Wait. Mike Epps said you drug him like a big girl with a broke left foot or something. He said, I said, oh,
yes.
Oh, no.
But that's the thing. The people that you don't expect to be like the heroes of the film. Mike Epps was like the hero of the film. He got Eddie to realize, like,
way.
Yeah, and it was like you were out to get him and you did it. And he was like, what? Like, he didn't realize how at fault he was. But guys, learn something. Grow from this. This is a perfect opportunity for you to see a great movie, for you to laugh, and for you to just talk about. Like, you need to have a conversation with your friends. Like, watch this movie and then go have an uncomfortable conversation with your friends. That's the only way we ever get through it. It's like, you don't ever get to the rainbow unless you go through the storm. In this country, this world, we need to go through the storm. We've avoided the storm for far too long. But guys, that's the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for laughing with us. We hope we entertained you, and we hope you learned something. Bye. Ooh, close it out.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD official podcast.